typically the way we do these virtual rules trainings now, because we go sport specific, is I'll just kind of work my way down the rule sheet, kind of touching on things as we go. So if there's anything that you see that you're like, oh, wait, I got a question about this or something like that, just let me know and we'll go from there. Let me do this real quick. And you guys can all see that clearly? Awesome, cool. So our goal is to teach, as I mentioned, the fundamentals of volleyball, right? We're trying to do the bump, the set, and, you know, hopefully getting good serves in from the back line. And I'll go over the services as we go on. But that is the goal. The age groups for our program vary depending on the location. In Loudoun, we've had a lot of success moving to a 7 to 9-year-old age group, a 10 to 11-year-old age group, and a 12 to 14-year-old age group. In Fairfax, we've remained really at that 7 to, I think it's 7 to 10 and 11 to 14. Those are unfortunately still too large of an age group for us. So it creates a little bit more of a difficult situation for you all when you're at the venue. But we're trying to move towards that, you know, more efficient age grouping, 7 and 9, 10 and 11, 12 to 14. So in Loudoun, you'll most likely see that depending on how many people sign up at a venue, but it could vary. So don't be set on like that's exactly what you'll see. Whenever we have different age groups, we'll always communicate that with our staff, or we'll do our best to make sure that's communicated to our staff so they're ready to go. But the goal is always, like I said, teaching the fundamentals. As we get to that 12 to 14 age group, we'll get a few more that are intermediate and know what they're doing. But it, again, really just depends on the venue. So kind of got to have an open mind as we go out there. The players' equipment, we always recommend that they wear knee pads or elbow pads, but they do not have to. So we don't have any required equipment for our athletes out there. The only thing that we want is for them to wear their I-9 sports jersey every week. It is reversible. So one of them will have a color on their schedule that week, whether it's red, and then the next week they might be blue. And so their jerseys are reversible. The one thing that I'm trying to get everybody in our volleyball program to do is either have the kids tuck in their jerseys or figure out a way to clip their jersey at their hip. Because we do basketball and volleyball together, they share jerseys. So the jerseys are technically basketball jerseys. And so sometimes they're a little bit longer because basketball jerseys are designed to be tucked into athletic shorts. So having them tuck in their short, or having them tuck in their jersey, or some form of, you know, clipping off their jersey with either a hair tie or something is super important in just having that look, that a legitimate look of a volleyball program. You know, I mean, Kate, Zita, you've seen it. The kids sometimes look like they're wearing dresses when the jersey's too long and it goes down to their knees, and it's like, oh, that kid's just out there in just a jersey. It's just not a great look. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. Now, the instructor/officials, which are you all, we usually have just one I-9 sports referee per court. So if you're at a gym where there's 2 courts side by side, there'll be 2 I-9 sports referees. And if there's just 1 court in the gym, there'll typically only be 1, unless it's opening day or closing day, or a special reason that we would have an additional person out there for volleyball. Referees will ref from the side of the court. So you guys are all instructors like officials. So you'll ref from the side of the court. We'll call and briefly explain rule infractions as they happen, out of bounds, double hit, whatever it might be, hitting off the ceiling. There's no line judges, so it's up to you to kind of call that inbounds, out of bounds. That's why I was saying, you know, make the lines on the court with the painter's tape if you don't have legitimate lines or you can't really see the lines, because we want to have that line there. 2 things that we've started to do is, 1, we've started to ask parents and ask for volunteers to do the scoreboard during volleyball to make your lives easier out there, so you're not doing the flip board while also reffing. The other thing you can also do is ask for line judges. See if anybody wants to be a line judge to help you out just on inbounds, out of bound calls from where you're going to be calling it. So that's one thing that just to keep in mind as you're out there, Kate, Zita, this season, and then Anaya as well. If you see that opportunity and you get a volunteer, we're totally up for parents helping out in that capacity in the volleyball program. The next thing, and this is important depending on the venue as well, forfeits, or how many people we can have on the court to have an official game. So some of our programs are a little bit lighter than others. So some programs will have 10 or 11 kids to a team, maybe just 9. We play at 6-on-6 for those programs. If we have less than 5, at that point we kind of get into that forfeit range. When they're missing half their roster, that's kind of like a forfeit. But we can play 4v4 and have that be a legitimate game. If we're at a program where the rosters are only 7 or 8 people, we can play 4v4 and have that still be a game. The only way that that gets kind of hairy is if we have a program where it's 2 teams of 11, half the program's missing, there's only 4 kids, and the other team has 11. We wouldn't want to have them play 4-on-4, and then they have 6 or 7 kids sitting out rotating in for 4 spots, right? So teams must have at least 4 players to start the match. Any team that can't field 4 will be a forfeit. We will trade players and loan players if the opposing team would like to loan a couple players to the other team so they have 4 or they have more than 4. We are totally up for that. Again, it's a fun, focused league. It's not just about wins, losses, how many points they score, that sort of thing. We want them to have fun and play. Any situation that is a forfeit, we will still play. So right here, it's super important to keep that in mind. Anytime we have a game, they're going to play. It's just a matter of how the scrimmage is going to work. When you're recording your scores at the end of the game, all forfeits will be recorded as 2-0 wins with the sets and 10 points per set. So you'll record the score as such in the score sheet. So it'll be 2-0 in the boxes, and then you'll put parentheses off to the side 20-0. Same thing goes for recording scores of games that actually happen. If it's 1-1 and the total points, so it's 1 blockers, 1 setters, but the total points is 20, trying to think what that would be, 25-27, because the one team won the one game by 2 points and the other team, whatever it might have been, we need that point differential as well, because that helps us at the end of the season if the sets are tied between teams in the bracket. So that's forfeits. Also, any questions, like I said, raise your hand as we go. Taking the information, you can also ask questions afterwards. We can get on a call and discuss the rules as needed. Practice times vary by age group. Junior division is a 30-minute practice, so it'll be 9 to 9:30 as an example. Senior division's 35 minutes, so it'd be 9 to 9:35. And then the game time for junior will be 30 minutes. And the senior game time will be 40 minutes. So the junior sessions in the big seasons will be an hour long, and the senior sessions will be an hour and 15 minutes long. It is up to you guys to keep track of time. So we have to make sure that we're keeping time throughout practice, make sure we're staying on schedule, letting coaches know, hey, coaches, 15 minutes left in practice. There's 4 minutes left in practice or 5 minutes left in practice. Go ahead and give them like 1 more minute and then, blow the whistle. All right, guys, that's the practice. Let's go ahead and grab some water. Coaches, put our starting lineups on the court. We obviously want them to get as much practice time as possible, but if we were to go the full 30 minutes and then start the game, we're not going to start the game on time. We're going to start a couple minutes late because it takes them time to get on the court, get water, etc. So keep that in mind as we're controlling the pace of the practice and then jumping into the game. We do not stop the timer for any reason. So when you're reffing and we jump into the game, whether it's 9:30 or 9:35, you will start and look at the schedule. It's 9:30 to 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, the game's over. So even if they're in the middle of the set, the game's over. Whoever's up in that set at that point will win. So make sure to communicate that towards the end of the session. But keep on time. We do not extend time and we do not do overtime. So if it's tied, it's just a tie, right? 1 set to 1 set, and that's what it is, and you'll record the points scored. The way we do our scoring, just like regular volleyball, we do rally scoring. Points can be won at any point. You don't have to be serving to score. Possession of the ball does not change, though, until, as I mentioned earlier, 3 consecutive serves have taken place. So for the 7 to 10-year-old game format, games will be played a best of 3 sets. First 2 sets will be played to 25, win by 2. Third set will be played to 15 if time allows. We do play to 25. It is a win by 2 capped at 30. So once they get to 30, it's not a win by 2. It's first team to 30. That way we can kind of get through the set and get it over with. I don't think we've ever, in the history of me being here, have ever had a game go to 30 points, but that's just the way it is. So max game time, 40 minutes. As I mentioned, we really want to try to get 3 sets in, so keep the pace of play up as we're going. Senior game, same thing. 3 sets, 2 sets to 25, a third one to 15. The only difference, max game time is 40 minutes. Well, actually, max game time is 40 minutes as well. So that doesn't make sense. Right? 30 minutes practice, 35-minute practice, 30-minute game, 40-minute game. So I need to adjust that. That shouldn't say 40. That should say 30. So the junior session will be 30 minutes. The senior will be 40. So I will make a change there. Time limit, as I mentioned, is reached. We'll end the set and determine the winner based on who is ahead. Any questions on scoring? All good. Awesome. Recording the game score, we already went over that. The only difference to note here is, and Niall, you'll see this on your first week. Week 1 is opening day. We don't keep score. It's simply a scrimmage, our opportunity to show the kids how the sessions run and what to expect each week. So we won't keep any score, and it doesn't count towards the overall record. Weeks 2 through 6 count towards their overall record in preparation of closing day, and scores are kept for every week from 2 through 7 for the whole season. Scores should be entered onto the score sheet at the site table. Again, those things will be gone over in greater detail as we get closer to the season. At the in-person trainings, when I can show you all what the in-person, like what the site table looks like, the check-in sheets, all that stuff. The flip scoreboard should be used to keep score during the match, and you can recruit a parent volunteer for this flip scoreboard. I mentioned that already. Closing day and end of season. You guys don't necessarily need to know this. This is more for the parents, but all the age groups will have a final week of the season matchup. It'll be based on the rankings. If there's more than 2 teams, there will be a championship game. If there's only 2 teams, they'll just face off against each other once more. There is a tiebreaker for the standings for the divisions with more than 2 teams. The first level of that tiebreaker is head-to-head competition. Then it's point differential. Then it's points allowed. Then it's a coin flip. Never have we ever done a coin flip, I don't think, but it's there just in case we ever have to have that last bit of a tiebreaker. So that's the tiebreaker. If anybody were to ever ask you, we put that out in the email, so they should know that. Now, rules of play. The home team will serve first. The away team will serve first in the second set, and if a third set is played, the home team will serve first in the final set. If you're wondering who the home team is, all you have to do is look on the coach check-in or the score sheet at your venue. That'll have who is the home team, who's the away team, what color jerseys they're wearing, what practices they're at, or practice location they're at, whether it's court 1A or 1B or 2A or 2B, whatever that might be. So that's how we're starting the play and dictating who serves first. Now, the big piece of volleyball that you need to know, and we'll get an opportunity to practice at the in-person, is the serving. The home team's player will serve first to start the game. They will serve for 3 consecutive rally points with 2 attempts per point. So when we ref and we are calling it from the stand, it is first serve, first attempt, blow your whistle, arm motion, then that player will serve. We don't want the player to serve before the whistle. So make sure to keep control of the venue. Don't just let them go. If they hit it before you blow the whistle, blow the whistle again. Stop play. Like, let it be at a legitimate volleyball program where we say, oh, hey, well, wait for my whistle, wait for my instruction to go. So that way they learn that, because if they move on to another volleyball program, that's the way they're going to be led. That's the way it's going to be reffed. So it'll be first serve, first attempt, first serve, second attempt. So if the ball doesn't go over on the first attempt, they'll get a second attempt. If the ball doesn't go over again, it'll be point gray or whatever the other team is, and then they'll serve again for the second point. If it does go over and they get a point, obviously they get that point, and then it will move on to the second serve. Then it'll be second serve, first attempt, second serve, second attempt, third serve, first attempt, third serve, second attempt. We do say all of that, right? Kate, Zeta, every time you're talking it through. First serve, first attempt, first serve, second attempt. It's not just assume where they're at. We always communicate that throughout and make sure that they know that. Once the 3 rally points are done, then the ball will move to the other side and then they'll rotate. And we always have them rotate after the ball moves to the other side. A serve ball may graze the net and drop on the other team's side for a point. Pretty standard. If the serving player does not successfully serve the ball on the other team's side of the court on their 2 attempts, the rally point will be awarded to the other team. And that's basically how we score our serves and how we handle the rallying back and forth with service points. The service line, as I mentioned, this is another key thing for I-9 sports that can vary by age division and player ability, is the service line. So for junior, we try to have them serve from as close to the line as possible early on in the season. If they can't get it over from that line, we can allow them to step 5 feet up in front of the baseline to serve. For senior, they can serve from the baseline of their first attempt. If they don't get it over, they can move up to the 7 to 8 service line, that 5 feet up in front of the baseline. Now, that is the way we typically try to have the rules done. Kate, Zeta, you can tell me and correct me if I'm wrong here. Most of our programs have a lot of kids that struggle to get the ball over, especially early on in the season. And so we have a lot of kids that just automatically serve from a little bit further up, especially at the younger age groups. And so we try to focus heavily on serving at the end of each practice. And then I want a progressive development throughout the season. So in the beginning of the season, we'll be more lenient with these rules as far as letting a lot of players in every serve be from 5 feet up, 6 feet up, whatever it might be. But as we get to the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, we want to try to move them back. So let's make sure that we're doing that. And as I mentioned, the players are progressing to working back to the regular line. The types of serves we allow, underhand serves are permitted in both age groups. We do not encourage overhand serves or overhead serves at the junior level, but we do recommend them for the senior level. I don't know that we have too many 7 or 8-year-olds doing jump serves or overhead serves. So expect a lot of underhand serves. And, if they're really excited about trying the overhand, that's great. We want them to work with them on that, provide that instruction, work with them to get better on that. Playing the ball. If the serve goes over the net, there are different outcomes based on the age group. For junior, play the serve and follow one of the next steps. If the serve is played successfully, the team should continue to play the ball until it's a dead ball and the point is awarded to one team or the other. No coach toss is necessary. In the event of an ace, and now this is also predicated on certain venues. Some programs we have stronger programs than others. If we have continual aces where the ball is going over the net and just dropping, point, ball's going in, dropping, point, and it happens multiple times in a row, that's where we'll have what we call a free ball, or we just try to really engage the kids into playing the ball, being ready feet, get them moving around. We don't want it to just be a dull, like, serve in, serve in, serve in for 4 straight points, and nobody's really hitting the ball. And so you can take a ball, toss it up, and do a free ball. Now, the free ball is not a point. It's more so just an opportunity to get the kids playing a little bit, pass the ball real quick, get the ball over the net, and do one free ball. And so that's at your discretion to be used. Kate, Zeta, have you guys used that much at either of your venues? Kate, have you? So
I used it one time when there was one team that was really unmatched.
Yeah.
But typically what I'll do is go over and help the kid that's I'll help the kids and I'll before giving them a free ball.
Awesome. And like I said, it is at the discretion of the coordinator. I don't want to hear that the volleyball program is just ace every time. Typically, it doesn't happen like that, honestly, especially with the great instructors we've gotten over the years. We used to just have basketball instructors that got trained to be volleyball instructors because we only had a handful of volleyball people. Now we're starting to get a lot of more stronger volleyball people that have helped grow the teams in practice. And we're not having as many teams that are just all standing around looking at each other as the ball just falls to the court. But we should always be trying to coach. Always looking for those coachable moments, even on those aces. Hey, ready feet, let's move, let's be prepared. If we see the ball coming over, let's communicate and move over. For the senior division, they'll play the ball off the serve. The ball is live. Players have 3 touches per rally. Junior division as well. The free ball can be used at your discretion as well. The last couple things to cover, this is the last page actually. Ball in and out of play. This volleyball is pretty standard. We have our baselines. We have our end lines. If the ball hits the line during play, it's considered in. If the ball misses the line, it's out. We do not have antennas on our nets. They're just nets. And so we don't have like a set, like, oh, it hits this part of the net, it's out. If it hits the pole, it's out, but no antenna. If the ball hits the ceiling, it is considered a dead ball and the opposing team wins a point. So if the team is playing the ball and they hit the ball up in the air and it hits the ceiling on the other side and goes down, that's a dead ball, point to the other team. If the ball goes up on their side and hits the ceiling and comes back down, they can play it. The only other caveat to that is the basketball hoops themselves. So some of the venues, and Kate and Zita, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the venues have basketball hoops. And what we've done is, depending on the venue where the hoops are, that ball is automatically out. So, because like the basketball hoop might be hanging over the back baseline or something like that. So if the ball hits the hoop, it's automatically out, because the players obviously, not going to play it, 2 would have been out if it landed. But some of those things need to be discussed at the beginning. So just let the coaches know week 1, hey, the hoop is out. If the ball hits the hoop, it's going to be a dead ball for that team. So if the team that's hitting from the other side hits it over and hits the hoop, that's an out of bounds, and that the receiving team gets the point. And if the team that's hitting to hit the ball over and they pass the ball to their teammate and they accidentally hit the hoop, then it's an out of bounds. The other team gets the ball. Other things to consider: fouls. Blocking is not permitted on the serve. Again, some of these we don't really run into, but good to go over. Blocking is not permitted on the serve. Blocking a volley is only permitted in the senior division. So if we did have any, maybe 6-footers running out there, 14-year-old 6-footers in our program jumping up and blocking volleys, that is permitted at the senior division, not at the junior level. Hitting the ball more than twice consecutively is not allowed. There may only be 3 volleys before getting the ball over the net. A player may touch the ball twice during a volley, but not in succession. Touching of the net, hair, or if it's the force of the ball hair touches, or if the force of the ball hit by an opponent pushes the net into a player, that does not count. So we should be calling net violations and trying to encourage that. Back row attacks are not permitted. We're probably not going to really see that too much. If we do start to see that, obviously, and you have pretty good background in volleyball, I'm assuming, Kate and Zita, I know you do. So we're not seeing back row attacks. I've never seen it in any of our programs, but if we do start to see people try to approach and take a spike from the back row, let me know first off. But then we would have to start putting that painter's tape to kind of have that line, the 10-foot line. But other than that, that's kind of the rules. Any questions on any of that? That kind of covers everything as it pertains to our program. The only other thing is the rotations, as you see here. If it's a 4v4 league, which we don't play those leagues, we only play 6v6. If they have 4, they would play 4, and you wouldn't need to worry about subs. But this is typically how we do our 6v6 subs. We'd have 2 subs over here. If we have any more teammates show up, so this is for 8 players. If, say, we had 10, we would have 9 and 10 sub in over here. So we'd have 7 and 8 sub in here. They'd go across the back row, sub out, then sub in on the front row. So we'd always try to even it out on the side, so that way we don't have 4 kids sitting out waiting to get on the court at a time. Any questions? We made pretty good time getting through that meeting.